Hello, this is David, and today I'm going to be doing another review of the Hunger Games, and this is going to be for Chapter 19. And today I decided I'm going to improve my camera situation. It's a pretty ghetto setup, I have to say. I would show you guys, but it's impossible. So anyway, let's start off with first chapter, part 3, The Victors. That's right, Peeta and Katniss, and Cato and District 2 girl. So, can't wait to see how this is going to develop. Unfortunately, I do have some disappointments with this chapter, but that's okay, I'll get into that later. So, let's start off. So, Katniss, of course, is, going crazy. She's like, just right away wants to find Peeta, and this is something about Katniss that I don't like. Katniss was getting better, but then we're gonna have to go back a little bit. Like I said, I should probably, make some kind of, brownie point system for Katniss, because sometimes she'll do something good and sometimes she'll do something really stupid. And let's go ahead and read from the glorious, reread some of Katniss's words. I know if I was watching, I'd loathe or hate any tribute who didn't immediately ally with their district partner. And then she says, besides, it just makes sense to protect each other. Wow! Now you're probably thinking, what? What's the problem with that? That sounds logical. That's the problem. That it's logical. That's the problem. And I'm going to tell you why that's the problem, because if you remember back before this rule happened, where was this line of thinking? Where was this line of thinking going? The only thing she thought about before this rule about two victors was how she has to kill Peeta, and Peeta's trying to kill her, and it's all she could seem to focus on. She didn't think about, maybe I should at least be allies, since I'm probably going to make alliances anyway, might as well make an alliance with Peeta, and then work together, and then that way our district has the better chance of winning, because we'll be partnered up, and if we have to kill each other in the end, it's okay, because our district will still win in the end. Okay? I can rationalize that in so many different ways, but no, Katniss just seems to just shut it down instantly. Oh, but when this rule happens, somehow she instantly says they should partner up. If you want to use her logic, and the reason why she would want to partner up is because, hey, now you get to, work together and, for your district, but it's the same thing you could have done before. If you're just doing it for your district, you would have had the same outcome, except in the end, you would have to kill each other. So there you go. So unfortunately, I don't like Katniss how she says something like that. It's very hypocritical is basically what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so let's talk about this rule and why it happened all of a sudden. So I was thinking, and I said this before, that maybe the game makers are kind of influenced by the people. It's not just the game makers making all the rules, but maybe the people are like, oh, we love Katniss and Peeta so much, we can't let them die. I don't want to see one of them die, one of them live, that's too cruel. And they actually influence the game makers. And Katniss says something like that. She's like, she says it must be popular with the audience that it would jeopardize the success of, right. That's not what she says, but she says it here about how, okay, I can't find the exact quote, but I'll get to it. But either way, she does say it in here, I'm not making this up, about how they must have influenced the decision that must have happened. So that makes me think, oh man, maybe the capital people have more say than maybe the game makers. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know. So I think it's also probably just, Suzanne Collins, of course that rule's gonna happen all of a sudden, But I like to pretend like the fictional stories are real, and then kind of like put some logic in there. But anyway, and then finally Katniss realizes that Peeta's never been a danger. And as soon as I read that, I thought, well, no shit. So, and then she smiles and she's happy about that, but she couldn't really smile about that before, because as you remember, they would have to kill each other. Well, like I said, there's so many flaws with that kind of logic. So, anyway, and also Katniss is, of course, being a camera whore, showing every little reaction to the camera, which is actually going to be kind of good for the movie, because you get to see what her thoughts are, maybe, see Katniss's reactions. So anyway, let's go on, and basically she's looking for Peeta right now. That's what's happening in the chapter. And she's getting ready to look, and this is a sentence I want to analyze, and I can't find my literature textbook, but there's this one story in there, I think it's Hemingway. There was a, sorry about that, there was a thing written in there that said something like, you know, the sun came out and it was bright as day, no clouds in the sky, and then after that, these two people in the story started talking about whether or not they're going to get an abortion. So that sentence, this whole setting kind of symbolized that, you know, that there's a decision to be made, there's something right out in the open that you have to find or make up. There's no, you know, wiggle room. It's just right there in the open, you know, the abortion thing. And in this sentence in the Hunger Games, it's like the same thing. I'm going to read it to you. It's the sun burns off the morning haze almost immediately, and I can tell the day will be hotter than usual. Alright, there's two things I want to point out in that sentence. The whole, you know, the sun burning off the haze. It's kind of like saying, you know, of course, you know, she has to go find PETA. The sun's out there, you know, it's like if you think of the sun like as a searchlight, kind of like that. You know, the sun's exposing everything, and then, you know, she has to go around the place and find PETA. It's kind of like that. But the real thing I want to analyze is I can tell the day will be hotter than usual. Interesting. The day will be hotter than usual. There's so many things to say about that. Later in the chapter, it kind of reveals what maybe that means. But when I first read this, I thought, hotter than usual, that must mean something bad's going to happen. Whenever something is hotter than usual or, you know, colder than usual, you know, usually it means that something uncomforting is going to happen in the day. I mean, yes, it's going to be uncomfortable temperature, but there may be also something uncomfortable with, you know, the day. So, I'm sorry if this is sideways, by the way. I just noticed that. Well, what can I say? And by the way, this is not an afro, this is my shadow. So anyway, let me get back to that. So the hotter than usual thing, that's exactly what it stood out to me, and later we find out that it may just refer to PETA's temperature, but I think that had to do with something like that, you know, something bad's gonna happen, so, which also can do with PETA. So this is when she says something that, of course, is just, you know, I'm sorry. You know, I started to say I like Katniss, and then I had to take it back, and I'm happy. But good old Katniss is back. The shitty Katniss that I love so much that makes this book so much fun to read. She says, he won't have a low opinion of me, as I think I'd ignored the... Oh, wait. What? That does not how... I'm sorry. Now I'm making myself look stupid. Okay, here we go. She says, he won't have so low an opinion of me as to think I ignored the new rule and keep to myself, would he? Well... The thing is, the problem with that sentence there is that she is completely oblivious to how she has been treating PETA. When she says something like, you know, he won't have a low opinion of me. Well, of course he should have a low opinion of you, Katniss, because not when he was sitting there telling you, man, I want to be myself and everything, and I wish I had this and I wish I had that, you know, blah blah. And she's like, well, you're just gonna die. There's no point in talking about this. Does it fill our stomachs? No, it doesn't. That's what she was saying to PETA when he was basically pouring his heart out, you know, showing and expressing his feelings, venting to her, and she just shut him down. Okay, and when PETA was sitting there and talking about how his mom wants to kill her, said, oh yeah, maybe Katniss will win, and that's kind of a sad thing. She just completely skips over that and makes fun of him. I mean, PETA, man. You know, I was looking forward to Katniss and PETA meeting together, and I wanted PETA to rip on Katniss and be like, oh yeah, now you want to team up, bitch. You know, I wanted him to do it. I was expecting that. I thought that was the most reasonable thing to happen right now. Because doesn't that make sense, you know? Like, the guy likes the girl, blah blah blah, and then, you know, finally the girl starts to like the guy, and the guy's like, well, you know, now you're liking me all of a sudden. Oh, well, yeah. So, I don't know. That's usually how it goes, and... spoiler, it doesn't happen. So, anyway, let's go. So, let's talk about how he's basically hiding in this really cool spot. Basically, he is, like, camouflaged so good that no... Like, I want to see this done in the movie. Like, basically, you can't see him. And you can only see him when he opens his eyes or smiles. So, that's pretty cool. And then Katniss finally finds him. And, of course, you know, their meeting's all happy and joy and smiley. And they're making jokes. And they're saying, hey, you can kiss me. And she's like, ha 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 ha. Even though PETA really obviously wants her to kiss him. Yeah. So, anyway. I mean, at least that's what I think. I mean, people may think PETA doesn't like Katniss, but I mean, there's something wrong if you think that. And then this is something that's funny. Katniss is back. Baby, the Katniss I love is back. That's what I should name this video. Seriously. So anyway, so she's taking off his clothes, taking off his shirt and exposing his hot chest. It was literally hot. I mean, she says hot chest, but And then and then she's like, oh wait a minute, if I take off all his clothes, won't he be naked? Well, naked bodies are no big deal, right? And she's just like, I love how she does that. Like, she's such a little nympho. And so yeah, she takes off his clothes except for his little underwear. And it's funny, she actually has to, sorry, I was thinking for a second, she had to tell herself, I love Katniss's, first of all, let me just start, I love Katniss's inner fights with herself. Like, you have her rational side on one, which is kind of small compared to her irrational side that's always attacking it. Like, every time there's logic, it just gets it right away. And she's like, I don't want to pull the underwear over his swollen thigh, yeah, that's why I don't want to take off his underwear. And then she's like, okay, also, it kind of makes me uncomfortable if he's naked. Thank you, Katniss. Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for that. So yeah, and then I want to talk about how, apparently, I didn't know this, Katniss's mom really does take care of the villagers, whatever, the District 12 people. She's kind of like, almost like a doctor, and, before, she was always kind of depicted as just a stay-at-home mom that did nothing. But she still took care of people. It wasn't like she didn't do anything. So, I don't know, Katniss made her sound like she was a no-good, good-for-nothing scumbag parent, but she actually does something, so there you go. Okay, so anyway, this is, I probably shouldn't even mention this, but I just think it's funny. She's talking about how, embarrassing and naked, and there's naked bodies, and then she's like, my little sister would be far more used to PETA than I am. I thought that was kind of funny. It's a little pedo statement. But anyway, I'm sorry. I like to make a joke. So, and then this is what PETA says, and then this is clearly just a hilarious statement to me. I don't know, there's so much to say about this statement. Basically, Katniss is like, okay, I kind of have to take off your shorts. Use this to cover yourself. And he's like, oh, I don't mind if you see me, babe. And yes, he said that, so I think that's just hilarious that he said that, and I can only imagine why Suzanne Collins put that in there. So I think that was pretty funny and gay at the same time. Not gay, but it's just funny that Peter's like, yeah, babe, check it out. I don't know. So then we learned that I actually kind of surprised that PETA didn't get any sponsors or any kind of anything. Which kind of sucks, you'd think, man, they know, well, they don't, maybe they couldn't even find PETA. Maybe that's why I didn't get any sponsors. It could be, right? But it doesn't make sense because they probably would have followed PETA to where he got to, and he probably had to get a drink of water at some point, so, yeah. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's just surprising me that PETA didn't get any sponsors, which sucks. So then there's this moment in here I want to talk about. Actually, I was really into PETA, or Katniss was dragging PETA around because, by the way, he's incredibly sick. He has a cut on his thigh that has pus like going out of it like crazy and bleeding, and it looks like it's down to the bone injured. So that's pretty serious. And then he also has a fever, he's getting sick, which is probably the reason why, right there. And he has some burns from the fire. There's a bunch of things wrong with PETA right now. Basically, all he managed to do is, cover himself in dirt and survive a little bit, but... And then there's a moment where Katniss is dragging him around trying to get to a new location, and she starts patting his back and starts surveying the area, looking around. And whenever I see that in a scene, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this movie where someone's like taking care of someone, they're patting their back and they're looking around like, it's okay, everything's gonna be okay. It kind of symbolizes to me that something bad's gonna happen, something more intense. And it actually makes me kind of like on the edge, like, oh shit, I hope nothing happens. So I like that. I like it when a book makes me feel something like that. I just thought I'd share that if anybody else felt like, while they're reading this, they actually felt like, oh shit, I hope nothing happens or something like that, I'm sorry. I'm not good with words. Anyway. So, and then apparently, PETA's dying, he is, and Katniss realizes that, and, it's funny, PETA's like, oh, but if I do die, I just want to tell you something. No, you're not going to die. Oh, but if I do die, I want to tell you something. And no, you're not going to die, PETA. You're not going to die. And he's like, oh, and then Katniss goes in for the kiss. That's right. Smoochy, smoochy, smooch. And Katniss and PETA just make out constantly. Seriously. And then I did read the chapter ahead, unfortunately. I couldn't help myself. So yeah, but I won't spoil what happens in the next chapter. So yes, they kiss a bunch, and I just think that's hilarious that, Katniss is just completely out of it. Like, while they kiss, the first thing she thinks of is, his lips are hot. I should probably treat his fever. Like, she doesn't even register that she got her first kiss from a guy until a little bit later. So I don't know. It's just funny to me that Katniss is just in this whole irrational world that, I don't know. It's just funny to me. I'm sorry. Anyway, my name is David, as you probably know, and that is my review. But one thing I want to talk about before, I'm sorry. Hey Mitch, I think they could do this in the movie, to kind of express what's going on. How he's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to be in love, sweetheart. This boy's dying. Give me something I can work with. Which obviously to me symbolizes that there's going to be a lot more physical contact between Katniss and PETA, or more lovey-dovey. Even after that she starts going like, PETA, darling, look what Haymitch sent us. So it's pretty funny. Alright. I'm going to go, and I'm going to review Chapter 20 right away, because I read both of those chapters, and I am ready to review them. Alright, goodbye. Just going to awkwardly press this. Okay, good.